This chapter will cover common tools which can be found in almost all the tool sets. These tools can interact with almost everything in the editor, and are therefore very important to be learned. In order to interact with a model, we need a way to pick its elements. For this reason there are 6 different selection modes you can choose among. With Vertices Selection Mode, you can interact with the vertices of your model. For example, you can click on a single vertex to start reshaping it. Edges Mode is used to select single edges, for instance clicking everywhere on them. Again, once an edge is picked, there are more options to interact with it. Polygons Mode is used to pick curved polygons, again by clicking on the polygon surface. The other options apply to specific groups of elements. A loop is a loop of chained edges. In order to pick a loop, we need to click on one of its edges. The condition for 2 edges being in chain is that they meet at the same vertex, and that they are almost aligned on that vertex. For example, loop is useful to shape at once loops of edges on cylinders, or on other similar primitives. Depending on the edge you start with, the loop may be closed or open. Opposite to the loop is the ring. A ring is a chain of polygons. In order to pick a ring, we need to select an edge, and the polygons attached to that edge will be selected first, then the chain is propagated to more polygons if possible. The condition here for 2 polygons being chained is to have a common edge. The chain is propagated only on curved quads, through opposite edges, and stops if any polygon is found not being a quad, like a curved triangle. Depending on the edge you start with, the ring may be closed or open as well. In Parts Mode, we can click on a polygon to select all the polygons being in the same part. This makes sense only for models which have already been splitted into parts. If you want to try this, you should start from some of the pre-made models like the Mocha or the Cup. An interesting way to look for models with more than one parts is looking in their asset inspector. Here models with more parts are rendered using different materials. In the previous examples, we have seen how to pick one element at a time, but also multiple selections are supported. Below the selection modes, you can find the group of selection tools. By default, the Pick tool is selected. With this tool we can pick a single element by clicking on it, and, as we have seen before, one or more elements may be selected, depending on the selection mode in use. With the Rectangle tool we can select more elements at once, by dragging a selection rect on screen. Again, the overall selection depends upon the selection mode chosen. For instance, if Vertices Selection Mode is active, and the rectangle is dragged over the 2 vertices at the extremes of an edge, then both the vertices, and the edge, will be selected. Same thing for the vertices of a polygon. The Circle tool works in a similar way. We can drag the circle over the elements we want to be selected. And we need to press the P or O buttons on the keyboard to reduce or increase the size of the circle. For all the selection tools we have the option to activate the cumulative variant. When cumulative mode is disabled, any picking or selecting action will clean the selection. When cumulative variant is enabled, elements can be selected in more steps, since the selection is never cleaned. So, for instance, in Vertices mode, with the Pick tool and cumulative variant, we can select, one by one, all the vertices of a polygon to get it selected. There are also a few actions to know about selection. You can select everything or remove everything from the selection, with Select All or Unselect All. It is very practical to know that you can execute the same actions with the S key for Select All, and with Shift plus the S key for the Unselect All. Another useful action is Grow. Grow is used to add to selection every elements adjacent to elements which has already been selected. For example, if we select a vertex and press Grow, every edge or polygon attached to that vertex will be selected, and we can click Grow more times, to propagate the selection on more and more elements. Together with the buttons for instance selection, we can find the controls required to hide or show elements. Indeed, elements can be hidden, in order to temporarily remove them from the editor. The hidden elements can be shown back to be visible again. The most intuitive and simple way to hide elements is to select them first, and then click on Hide Selected. We can do this more and more times if we need it. And when we want to restore elements which were hidden, we need to click on Show All. There is also the opposite workflow. We can select a group of elements we still want to see, and hide everything else. This can be done by pressing on Hide Unselected. Again, when we want to restore elements which were hidden, we need to click on Show All. There is also an option to hide what can't be seen. Where, what can't be seen depends on the actual orientation of the camera. So, for instance, if we keep this orientation in the scene window, and we click on Hide Invisible Elements, it looks like nothing has happened, but if we change the orientation of the camera, by rotating around the model, we can see that all the elements behind what we were watching has been hidden. Below the selection and hiding actions, We can find a set of visibility options, which controls the visibility of the editing gizmos, and the operativity of some of the other tools. When normals is selected, you can see normals on your model, as little lines, and you can also edit them. On a curved poly models, normals can be assigned to vertices and edges. Edges normals appears as lines exiting from the center of the edge, and they only exist on curved edges, so they are not available on lines. Edges allows to see all kind of edges on the model. Edges are still visible, regardless of the edges settings, if edge mode is enabled. Handles shows the handles which control the shape of curved edges. Handles are available both from the vertices they are attached to, and from the edges they belong to, but they are not accessible on all the tools set. With Show Hidden Controls we can see edges and vertices which are behind the model. Curved Poly Editor can also show backgrounds grids which support the modeling of elements in scene. This backgrounds grids are visible when grids is selected. It is also possible to activate Snap to Grids to make any transform operation snap to grids points. Another common tool, which is accessible from almost all the tools set, is the parts list. Each curved poly model can be split into more parts, each part becoming a distinct submesh once the model is tessellated into more meshes. With parts list we can rename the parts, or change their material. You can also addictively select each part polygons with the S button at once. Each part added to selection this way has its name highlighted in the parts list. Furthermore, at any time, there is a part which is active. And you can control which one it is here in the parts list, using the radio button on the left of a part name. There are tools in Curved Poly Editor which need to know on which part they have to operate, so it is a good thing to keep. An alternative way to activate a part is using Parts Mode. With Parts Mode we can click on a part to, not only to select it, but also make it active.